Tonight on NewsWatch 12 at 6, we're tracking the discovery and detonation of an old military device in rural Sam's Valley. More details on what we know about this developing story tonight. And we're also continuing to track how federal funding cuts are impacting our local communities, how your favorite hiking trails could change soon.
Live, local, late breaking. This is NewsWatch 12 at 6.
A live round device discovered on a rural property in Sam's Valley has now been detonated. We want to thank you for joining us tonight for NewsWatch 12 at 6. I'm Haley Gravitt. We're continuing to learn more about the live round found on a rural property. An eyewitness living off Beagle Road sent us this footage of that explosion. We reached out to OSP, who said that they received a request to inspect what appeared to be an old military ordnance. OSP, the Oregon National Guard, and Jackson County Fire District 3 were all on scene and say they safely countercharged the device. Now, currently, investigators are unsure of where the device came from or if there are others, but we are continuing to track this story and we'll bring you that information as soon as it becomes available. And in a local news story tonight, federal cuts and freezes could affect your favorite hiking spots. Rocky Walker shares how trail maintenance could be frozen with those funds.
The Siskiyou Mountain Club restores and maintains backcountry trails in our region, increasing access to nature for the community. But with more than half of their funding coming from federal contracts, they have been left reeling from recent freezes.
Back in February, we stopped receiving payments.
Money has since started coming back in to pay for these projects that have already had contracts signed. But for contracts that were agreed upon without yet starting, they're left in limbo.
What that has done is created an immense amount of uncertainty as far as the future. We've been operating like that for 15 years with that handshake really meaning something. And so what it does is it impacts that partnership. It impacts that relationship.
They've made cuts and increased fundraising for this year, but next year those funds are up in the air, leaving them and other local hikers uncertain of what's to come.
It's scary, you know, we're losing a resource. We're losing access to wilderness. We're losing a connection to the nature around us.
SMC says it doesn't take long for a lack of maintenance to cover up these trails, saying it takes just a couple years and
eventually we lose them.
SMC plans on managing the funding shortfalls in the ways they can while continuing to work for the community.
We're going to figure this out. It might come with some reductions. It's definitely going to come with us working for more community support, us listening to the community more.
Hymas joined SMC after spending his life as a hiker. He hopes to pass on the trails the group maintains onto his family, but he fears a part of Southern Oregon culture may soon be lost.
And it had a big impact on who I was and how I spent my time. And I wanted my kids to be able to have that too, and that's part of why I live here. But as we lose funding and resources to maintain it, we lose access to those places.
In Jackson County, I'm Rocky Walker.
And if you want to go out and explore nature, the Bureau of Land Management is announcing their free guided hike series. All of the hikes will take place at Upper and Lower Table Rock on Saturdays between now and mid-June. Hikes are free, but registration is required. For details on what each hike features and how you can register, that can be found on our website. The first hike will be this Saturday at Lower Table Rock. And up at Lake of the Woods, the lake is starting to melt. The resort says their maintenance staff is working to get boats out on the water soon. But in the meantime, visitors can enjoy the water from the shoreline. So let's check in with Storm Tracker 12 Chief Meteorologist Matt Hoffman to give us a look at our conditions and see that we have a really warm day out there for us.
It was a warm day, yes, and beautiful day for a hike, really. 80 degrees still in Medford. We made it up into the low 80s. 82, in fact, was our high. 72 degrees right now in Klamath Falls. It's 75 in Mount Shasta. Cooler along the coast, though, not as warm, but those temperatures inland, we're still at 82 in Grants Pass. We're at 71 in Lakeview, 75 degrees in Montague. Temperatures running a good about 5 to 10 degrees warmer than this time yesterday. Absolutely above average temperatures for much of the region today, and we'll see that again for tomorrow as well. Tonight, some high clouds will start to drift on in down to 47 degrees in Medford, 36 in Klamath Falls. Tomorrow in the Rogue Valley, we're going to be looking at mostly sunny skies, still getting up into the low 80s along the coast in Brookings, up to 62. Some marine clouds are possible creeping up from the south, and then in Klamath Falls and Wairika, more warm weather tomorrow, but east of the Cascades and in Northern California, we'll have the slight chance for a stray shower or thunderstorm. We also, along the Sprague River near Beatty, have a river flood warning, 2 a.m. tonight through 1 p.m. on Friday. That current flood stage is at 8 feet. A minor flood stage is 8.5 feet. So we're going to creep up just above that as we head into tomorrow on into Wednesday, likely cresting at 8.6 feet. Especially into Wednesday morning, and then that water level will come down later in the week. So just minor flooding is expected. Coming up in a bit, we'll talk more about a cool down in the days ahead. I'll also talk about at least, again, that slight chance of a shower or storm for parts of the region tomorrow. That's coming up in just a bit.
And new at 6 tonight, a bipartisan bill to expand access to HIV prevention medication has passed in the Oregon House of Representatives. House Bill 2942 would ensure that both pre-exposure and post-exposure medications are reimbursed by the Oregon Health Plan. The legislation comes as the conversation about access to medical care in rural Oregon continues. The bill is now headed to the Oregon Senate. More details about the bill and impacts on local medical care can be found on our website. And House Bill 3167-3 is moving to the Oregon House of Representatives for a vote. The bill would require ticket sellers to tell a buyer the total price for a ticket and certain information before selling a ticket for an event. This will address long-standing issues with hidden fees, scam tickets, and double booking issues. Our Brit Festival has worked with Representative Pam Marsh to address some of the biggest scams that impact consumers.
There will be some lobbyists who claim that the second party market or the third party market is really consumer protection so that people can buy tickets for cheaper. But for arts and entertainment, that's just not the case.
The only testimony submitted that opposes these regulations were submitted by popular resellers like SeatGeek, StubHub, and Vivid Seats. And in our continuing coverage, the Asante drug diversion case continues to grow with 2 new civil cases coming out this week. 2 of those cases have been brought against Asante and former nurse Danny Schofield this week over the 2023 drug diversion case. One case calls for $7.2 million, claiming negligence on the part of Asante and negligence in abuse from Schofield. Court records show claims of in April of 2023 appendectomy that resulted in an infection due to Schofield's replacement of fentanyl with tap water. The other case calls for $7.1 million, claiming negligence and abuse, as well as a wrongful death of a patient. This case claims the patient was in care of Asante and Schofield for just a day in May of 2023 before dying in the intensive care unit, also showing signs of infection. More details of these lawsuits can be found on KDRV.com. And the civil case against Schofield has been placed on a pause until her criminal case reaches a resolution. That criminal case is set to have a pretrial hearing on April 28th. We'll be there to make sure to get you the latest details as this case unfolds. Now, looking at a crime alert tonight, 2 people are now in jail after a 2-month-long investigation into cocaine distribution. The Medford Area Drug and Gang Enforcement Team received multiple community complaints about a resident in Eagle Point. During the warrant execution, investigators seized more than 100 grams of cocaine, 8 firearms, and approximately $48,000 in cash. 2 residents were taken into custody on unlawful possession, delivery, and manufacture charges. Both of them are in Jackson County Jail.
Thing that makes me super happy is to see tennis courts, brand new tennis courts, and the way things are going, sometimes it seems like they're taking courts away. So
In some sports news, for the first time in 10 years, one Rogue Valley school has their own tennis courts to play on. Joining us live from Phoenix High School is Newswatch 12's Luke Doughton. Luke, you talk with some of the players and coaches about why this is huge news for the Pirates.
Haley, you just heard from Jonathan Stark. He is a former world #1 in doubles for tennis. He's got a few major titles under his belt as well. But I think he said it best, how there's a great space here at Phoenix High School in a time where these spaces seem to be few and far sometimes. But it's so close for Phoenix, who was practicing at Bear Creek tennis courts and also at South Medford High School. Now they're just a few steps outside of school at their tennis courts, so it's just a lot closer, a lot better situation for them, and it's also just a great chance to grow the program as well. I was able to talk to the team captain today, as well as their head coach, Guy Tower, who's really excited that these facilities are right here for the students.
It's just a dream come true. Having the courts at the school make the program so much more visible and more accessible for more students to be able to play right at school, and just an opportunity to expose more people to tennis.
And Tower, he's talking about the program expanding here at Phoenix High School. They've got 4 courts, so they're hoping next year to get their boys program rolling, and that's something that they talked about today at this ribbon cutting ceremony. Right now, Phoenix just has a girls team, but with this new space and these new facilities, there's that chance to expand into the program. But coming up later during sports at 6:45, we'll hear from the captain, Reina, as well as more from Tower as well about how big these facilities actually are for the program. For now, live in Phoenix, I'm Luke Doughton.